with situations like this, it kind of exposes people that are super disgusting with the way that they think and the way that they can speak about other human beings.
I have not had much time for content lately, but saw something unfold over the past week with a recent video of Radiantbritt that I felt passionately about, and wanted to share my opinion. Before I start, please don't send hate to anyone mentioned. I'm not looking to cancel anyone, just to engage in a conversation that Britt said she was interested in having with her subscribers. So here's the video in question. It was uploaded last Wednesday and addressed the backlash Ulta Beauty received for a podcast episode posted to their YouTube channel, featuring Mulvaney.
So let's start from the top. It says that Ulta Beauty on Sunday released a statement calling for civility after the release of a company podcast episode featuring a transgender TikTok star triggered an avalanche of transphobic vitriol online. Thursday's episode of Ulta's bi-weekly podcast, The Beauty Of, saw Mulvaney, an actress and comedian with more than 8 million followers on TikTok, join David Lopez, a gender-fluid Latinx celebrity hairstylist. The pair discussed identity and their personal journeys. In replies to Ulta's social media threads featuring the podcast clip, scores of users decried it as a misogynist, misgendered Mulvaney and called for a boycott of the company. Ulta explained in its weekend statement that the premise of the podcast, part of its Beauty and campaign, is to widen the lens surrounding traditional beauty standards, adding that we believe beauty is for everyone. Regardless of how someone identifies, they deserve our respect.
To say that I was shocked to hear some of what Britt had to say about this situation would be an understatement, given the things she says she stands for on her channel. More on that in a minute. And I wasn't surprised by the transphobic comments she received and had to delete. But, according to the update video just posted, Britt was surprised.
And I landed to an avalanche of people that were very upset in the comments of that video. I took a few minutes to read some of the comments that I could get to, literally while my plane was taxiing to the gate. And I saw that a lot of people in the comments were misgendering Dylan and being very cruel in their commentary towards Dylan.
So for that reason, I think it might make sense to walk back through her original video. I want to start here with Britt's thoughts on Dylan's content.
Dylan seems to be one of those people who thinks that girlhood and being feminine and being a woman, being a girl, has a lot to do with how you dress, how much makeup you wear, what your hairstyle is. Do you like glitter? Do you like colorful things? You know, girly, quote, girly stuff. And for me, my opinion on that is being a woman and being feminine and being a girl is so much deeper than what you're wearing, what kind of makeup style you have. Also, a lot of females who don't like makeup and they don't like to style their hair, and they might not want to wear a dress or carry a handbag. And for me, that doesn't make someone any less feminine than someone who is wearing the fanciest dress and has full glam on every single day.
Of course, not all women like to wear dresses and makeup. I think that goes without saying. But just as it would be unfair to say a woman isn't feminine enough for disliking all of these stereotypically girl things, it's equally toxic to use girly as an insult the way we sometimes tend to do in our culture. This comes from a place of internalized sexism, constantly devaluing anything associated with women and girls. There are an infinite number of ways to express femininity, and all are valid.
I felt like there was such an emphasis on, I want to buy a handbag, I want to buy this type of clothing, I want this kind of makeup.
And although Dylan's TikTok does focus a lot on beauty and fashion, I don't see people taking issue with other women creators making the same content Dylan does, often using the same sounds and transitions.
It's like Tiffany's.
Tiffany's? You mean the jewelry store?
That's right. I'm crazy about Tiffany's.
I find it hard to believe that this expression of femininity would inspire the same outrage if any of these other women had been the subject of Ulta's podcast. I highly doubt that Britt's old makeup content was flooded with criticisms, that she didn't spend more time discussing the deeper meaning of being a woman, something that even as she demands of Dylan now she struggles to do.
And I think that that's, based on what I've seen, that's also where a lot of other people have taken up issue, in that being feminine is not always tied in with your physical appearance, what you look like on the outside. It is so much more than that. It has a lot to do with your energy and your spirit and who you are at your core.
Women express themselves by posting things like this on social media every day, and only trans women are expected to prove that they deserve to do so. Not to mention, the fact that Dylan's TikTok focuses on primarily superficial aspects of being a woman is sort of the whole point.
My morals from Boy Dylan haven't changed. My values from Boy Dylan, like that soul is the same. And that's, I know how that person's felt because I've been with this, it's the same person for 25 years. It's just a little shift.
Yeah.
She hasn't become a completely new person inside, at her core, as Britt says. She's exploring what it means to express that person to the world on the outside.
Day 4 of being a girl, and I am exhausted. The hair, the makeup, the clothes, the high heels. It's a lot to keep up with, and I need to learn early on that those things do not make me a girl. It's what's in here that matters. And I actually didn't shave my face today because I was like, Dill, even with your facial hair, you're a girl. And even though I'm having it removed, women can have facial hair and women can have body hair, and that's a beautiful thing.
And given that fact, it ends up being a crash course of 25 years worth of rites of passage and healing some of the trauma associated with being shamed out of having them.
But I think what the beauty of femininity, specifically for you and me, has been finding it in adulthood, because we're picking up the pieces that were left behind a long time ago. Even that, you at 10 and telling that story of Betty Boop, like when you saw that look that your dad gave you, that told you something, and you banked that moment, and you might have self-corrected. And I know I self-corrected over and over again up until just like 2 years ago.
What is important about Dylan's content isn't even what she posts necessarily, but the act of posting them itself.
And the pandemic was a huge moment to be like, oh, none of this really matters. I might as well be who I want to be. So I think the beauty really is, it's the potential. I don't think beauty for me is like an end goal or like a one thing, a one look or a one specific moment. It's the ever-changing potential to see myself in a light that makes me really happy.
Yeah.
Britt really downplays how empowering it is for Dylan to finally see herself in her reflection, because it's something she's always taken for granted.
And like I said, I know makeup is fun. Trust me, I put makeup on almost every day. It's just something that I've always been interested in. But that's kind of like, that's a personal thing. That's not, I don't feel any less feminine when I'm not wearing makeup. Do I feel good when I wear makeup? I do, because it's been something that I've enjoyed for so long. But if I'm wearing a dress and makeup, I don't feel any more feminine than if I'm wearing sweatpants and no makeup.
Dylan's excitement about the handbag Britt mentions is also more than just materialism, considering what her Kate Spade sponsorship means for trans visibility. She speaks on this in the podcast, sharing that one of the reasons it took her so long to come out was the fear that being herself publicly would cost her too much, specifically in terms of her career.
We got to turn the narrative still has a long way to go, because when I was grieving Boy Dylan, I didn't know those things were even accessible to me. Although when I looked into my future, I didn't really see myself as a man. That there wasn't, because so much of the time I was hoping to be a woman, feeling like I was a woman, wanting to be feminine. But there were still moments of my life that I thought initially would be taken away. I was like, oh, well, I'll never be a parent now, or, oh, I'll never, be able to play this role that I always wanted to play when I was a boy, my dream role, or, oh, I had all these, some of untrue ideas, oh, maybe I won't find love now. And I want to stress that being a girl is not about buying purses, because I already see the haters using this against me with the whole, she thinks being a woman is only about buying purses. No, it's not. But sometimes buying a purse can be fun.
Whether or not Britt or anyone else jives with Dylan's particular expression of femininity is irrelevant anyway, since it is just that, uniquely hers. Ulta's podcast was titled The Beauty of Girlhood in reference to Dylan's viral TikTok series 100 Days of Girlhood, and not a suggestion that Dylan and the host would speak on what it meant to be a woman in general. Britt should have been aware of this, since she included that information in her video.
After her initial announcement in March, she began a series she dubbed the Days of Girlhood that cataloged each day during the early stages of her transition.
In fact, nowhere is Dylan claiming to represent all women or even all trans women for that matter. The reason Dylan calls it girlhood is a reference to the fact that she comes from a place of not knowing it all and wanting to be a student, and to learn.
The bottom line was, when I came out publicly as a girl on that first day, I had no idea what girlhood was. That's the whole point. I still don't. I'm freaking figuring it out every day. And you have to let people figure those things out. Day 1 of being a girl, and I have already cried 3 times. It's day 215 of being a girl, and when I watched that day 1 video back, I literally cringe watching it. You know when you read old diary entries or you see old photos of yourself from the past and you're like, what the hell was I thinking? That is how I feel about my early days of girlhood videos.
And the Beauty of Podcast episode is an exploration of the role that beauty has played in Dylan's personal journey to navigate all of that. So when Britt asks her audience the question,
in your opinion, was Dylan the right choice for this opportunity?
It sounds like what she takes issue with is Ulta platforming a trans creator. Because how can someone be the wrong person to discuss their own experiences on a podcast about diverse perspectives of beauty? That's like me protesting any of the other people featured on the podcast simply because they don't mirror my experiences.
Because I think that's where people are getting very upset, is just that the opportunity, in some people's minds, the opportunity was given to someone who is kind of playing dress up in their eyes. And I don't really care a whole lot if it's Ulta, Neutrogena, Sephora, whomever it could have been. But I will say that I think because of this, it's also another reminder that people are going to put their money with companies that they actually agree with their values, most of the time.
Britt uses a lot of language to distance herself from the rest of the points made in this video, stating that something is what other people may have said or what she guesses that other people may think about the situation. I won't presume to know what her point of view is here. What I will say is that even if she is just attempting to report what happened in a neutral way, I think it's irresponsible to boost harmful rhetoric like this without at least identifying it as such. She says she understands why people see Dylan as merely playing dress up, echoing anti-trans media figures like Amanda Ensing and Candace Owens, who refer to Dylan's transness as no more than a costume used to mock quote-unquote real women without ever pointing out how transphobic that is.
Okay. Well, I guess this just means that all it takes to be a woman, and if you're listening to this, you're not hearing it, he's dressed in obviously wearing a bright red dress, a big bow in his hair, or if he's like a cheerleader, and then sitting across from him is a gender-bending host who similarly looks like a woman but has a beard, because that's some other category of the LGBTQ RSTUV community, which I stopped learning the letters after the B. I don't have time for it. I actually just do not have time to learn the language anymore. And so they're basically on this podcast mocking what it means to be a woman. As I say, now what it is, it's become a caricature, right? This is Halloween. They are playing Halloween appropriate. It's just a couple of weeks away.
She goes on to say that this is another example of how customers are going to vote with their dollar. A thing Britt says often on her channel about brands she believes don't deserve her business, but only in reference to those who have commented to say they won't be supporting Ulta any longer. There were just as many people responding with screenshots of their Ulta orders and thanking Ulta for being inclusive and standing behind Dylan, but Britt doesn't show or read any of those. These are the tweets she did read.
How much is Dylan earning from mocking us? Invest in your future, not some misogynist dude's grift. I spend a lot of money at Ulta. Guess I'll be going back to Sephora because as a mother and a woman, I find this dude insulting. For them, being a woman is cosplay. They don't actually respect women or take us seriously. These men see womanhood as glitter and sleepovers. They are clueless and delusional. I'm all for inclusion, but I'll be damned if any biological male can tell me what it feels like to experience girlhood or motherhood.
And this was immediately following her request for subscribers to sound off with their own opinions. Nearly all of them misgender Dylan and worse. So Britt can't act shocked that people felt comfortable enough to leave similarly transphobic comments on her video. Britt is always saying, and points out again in this video, that you can give anyone criticism about anything if you do it respectfully.
You can give people criticism, and you can give them some pretty harsh criticism if that's how you feel, without becoming so dark and nasty.
And for the most part, I do agree with that. Dylan has received what I consider respectful criticism in the past, some of it even from other members of the trans community.
Tranma, who's an incredible creator on this app, made a video talking about how TikTok gave me the title of Trailblazer for the month and how it was really disappointing because the true trailblazers are my trans elders and the trans women who paved the way for me to be this girl on your screens. And I've been told that Tranma is getting a lot of hate from my followers, and that needs to stop because we are so lucky to even have her on this app. Day 8 of being a girl, and I've gotten some messages that are saying that I need to be calling myself a woman and not a girl. And I didn't even know that some women were offended by being called girls, so that's really good to know. But for me, the word girl feels great because I never got to be one growing up. And it feels very able to make mistakes and growing and changing and evolving, whereas the word woman feels very strong and confident and powerful, and that still intimidates me a little bit. So I was recently DMing with a fabulous trans woman on here about some of her concerns with my content. The primary one being that the structure of the days infers that I sort of woke up that day on day 1 and was like, you know what? Being a girl sounds fine. I'm gonna try that for a while. So I'm gonna set the record straight. I did not wake up that day and decide to be a woman. This wasn't a choice that I made. The only choice was that, am I going to live another day suppressing my true self, or am I going to come out? Because my dysphoria with my gender has been happening since I was 4, on and off throughout my life. And you know, a lot of trans people, they refer to themselves as their true genders even before they started transitioning. And so I tried to refer to that 4-year-old Dylan as a girl, like, oh, that she's a little girl. But it actually made me really sad because it felt like everything leading up till my coming out was now clouded with fear and self-loathing. And, you know, that might change one day, but I think that's why I still refer to my past self as a boy sometimes, so that I don't have to be angry with my younger self.
But questioning someone's gender identity can never be respectful criticism, no matter how politely you do it. I appreciate Britt's attempt to approach different topics on her channel and have important conversations. It just saddens me that this first one turned into a debate over whether trans women are women, which for me just shouldn't ever be up for debate to begin with. Trans women are women. The validity of their identity is not conditional on what specific aspects of womanhood they personally experience. I'm a cisgender woman, and Dylan isn't harming or insulting my womanhood simply for existing.
As a trans woman, I'm currently making a lot of very big medical decisions about my body. And at the same time, today in America, cis women and anyone who can get pregnant are having their rights taken away to choose what to do with their bodies. And even though I can't get pregnant, I can't sit back and watch that happen, because that's not what girlhood is about. If I've learned anything about girlhood, it's about taking care of each other. Whether that's me holding your hair while you throw up, or me holding your hand while you have to make a really big decision about your body. And I know if these roles were reversed, and if my rights to transgender affirmation surgeries were being taken away, y'all would be there for me, and I'm gonna be there for you in any way that I can.
In fact, I feel better represented by her than by the people leaving comments on Radiantbritt's video, attempting to narrow the definition of womanhood and reduce gender identity to biological sex, upholding the systems of oppression women have fought for years to break free of. Thank you all for hearing what I had to say, and please take care of one another.
You are rude and mean and sloppy and frizzy. I don't like you at all.